I usually start these videos around the other side, on the southern side of Worksop Priory. This, of course, is the northern side, and typically Leiobunum species A, which is the target invertebrate I'm after today. This is the second survey of 2023, and normally it's small numbers on this side, but over the whole of Worksop Priory and the walls of Worksop Priory, the status and range of Leiobunum species A has changed over the years. One time, when we'd got round to this side, Dennis and myself, we'd got several small groups, usually 1s and 2s and 3s. Now, it doesn't appear to even occur on this side, at least not this year, and I don't think I had many last year. And on the southern side, it's the same kind of stories. Areas on the walls where we used to get Leiobunum species A now no longer holds them. I've had a quick sortie along the southern side, and I found one aggregation when we used to have 3, 4 or 5. It seems that for some reason the distribution of Leiobunum species A on the walls of Worksop Priory has changed. Well, we've just had a good shower of rain for about 10 minutes, and so I took the opportunity to find a bit of shelter, and that shelter came in the form of these old doorways and presumed windows. And in that end doorway there's an aggregation tucked away of 24 Leiobunum species A. Now this western end of the priory isn't one that normally produces any counts at all. It used to at one time, and indeed on the wall just at the back here was where Dillis and I first discovered Leiobunum species A on Worksop Priory back in 2012. So we've got a new site for an aggregation of 24, and now it's a case of going round and checking the rest of the walls for this marvellous long-legged harvestman. Well, maybe I should have gone right round the priory first and checked, because I've no longer since just started to check these northerly walls of the priory, when tucked away in here there's 6 Leiobunum species A, and there's a single one just here as well. This is one of the typical places where we used to get them, always tucked in these deep recesses. So that's another 7. That brings the count plus the 24 just on the western side to 31. It looks like we're going to get a 3-figure count. Well, there's another one just in the recesses under that archway. Very, very rarely do you get them openly on the walls here. You can do occasionally, but later in the year the aggregations of Leiobunum species A tend to build up. Now they'll build up until they reach maturity, and then once they're mature, those aggregations usually break up, and you'll often find singles, or more often than not pairs, males standing guard over a female, and then they can be more widespread over the walls of Worksop Priory. So there will be several more visits here as we go through the year, but anyway, we've got one more to add to the total, which, if my brain and memory serves me right, means we're now on 32. Now just come round onto the eastern part of Worksop Priory, and you can see where new meets old, and the new building or new part of the priory is on the left hand side there. But that archway always used to feature an aggregation, varied in size but never terrifically big, but always double figures. Last time I came there weren't any, but there are 22 there at the moment, and the aggregation is on the wall pretty much right at the top of the arch and right under. It's typically placed, sometimes they are on the newer brickwork that you can see on that arch, but these are flat to the wall. So another 22 to add to the count. That's pleasing, that is. That there's obviously a big increase in numbers. I only had 49 here when I came on the 12th of July, and we're now on the 14th, I think it is, of August. So there has been some change. More Leiobunum species A have come from somewhere. This is another archway that used to feature an aggregation, and they were always on there every time, always on there, never on the other side or other part of that archway, but still not here. And I don't think it was always used last year, and possibly neither was the aggregation where that other aggregation is on the other arch that we just showed you. I don't think that was always in use last year, but it's now just along this final front bit, in which there used to be two big aggregations and then a couple of other smaller aggregations, but now there's just one spot where Leiobunum species A aggregates, and that aggregation today consists of approximately 62 individuals. Well, the aggregation is just under the lip on this side of that prominence. The aggregations never go any higher, or rarely go any higher than about 6-7 feet, and this one is about 7 feet off the ground. Even though this is the same lip as found on the other side on the northern walls of Worksop Priory, but on those sides it's a lot higher, and it was rare to get Leiobunum species A under there. But this very spot has been used each year since 2012 by various sized aggregations of Leiobunum species A, and it's a shame, for some reason, whatever they are, that we've lost those other aggregation points on this southern wall. And so the bit that everybody likes, it does them no harm, and just as a note, they are still immatures, hence the white knees, which you'll see plenty of in a minute. Now you're looking at 62 Leiobunum species A here, a total of 498 legs, 496 legs, sorry. I don't think there are any 10 specimens, but this is the bit everyone wants to see. Now these are immature, and if you've looked closely at your local harvestman on your house walls, you'll see how enormously long-legged these are, and this is still a subadult male. One more molt, it'll be adult. By September they're all adult, but you can see how long-legged these magnificent Opiliones are. Fabulous things, and you can hardly feel them. It makes you wonder why they have to be so long-legged. But there again, when these are scavenging the leftovers out of spiders' webs, then that's a good indication of why the legs are so long, because the spider will grab a leg rather than a body, and they can detach the legs as easy as anything. And now I've got to find that one, it's on my back somewhere. but they are already starting to congregate back. Oh, there he is, there's appeared, look. So we'll put this one back. And there they go. Brilliant things. Absolutely brilliant. Next time when we come, it'll be September, because I like to do at least one survey a month. It's part of what Dillis and I did since 2012 with this lot, and I like to continue to do, because very, very fortunate that, as this was one of the first places in the UK where they were found. They were found pretty much in the same day, although we found the first one to UK further elsewhere in Worksop in 2009, and it took us 3 years before we found the population on here, and that was just a couple of days after Paul Richards had found some on a factory wall in Barnsley. But these are the best recorded and studied Leiobunum species A colonies and populations in the UK. There's no data other than the data Dillis and I have accrued for these here at Worksop Priory. Long may it continue. Well, you're probably sat there thinking to yourself, Joe, idiots forgot to tell us how many is actually counted on this trip. Well, it's 125 approximately, and that's up on 49 that had in July. It's unlikely that this count will increase much, if any, by the time I come back here again, probably in about a month's time in September. But you never know. But certainly a big increase. It's interesting. People still ask me, why is it called species A? Well, that's purely because this is a harvestman which, until it arrived in Europe a few years before Dillis and I found the first one for the UK in Worksop in 2009, scientifically unknown, and it's still unnamed. That's why it goes by the name of Leiobunum species A. There's very probably a species B and a species C to arrive in the UK at some time. Such is the exciting nature of invertebrate recording.